everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you mistakes to avoid and some cost-saving tips when it comes to building a raised bed. But first, if you guys wouldn't mind, if you're new here to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And for those of you that have already subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate the support, folks. And if you wouldn't mind, give the video a big thumbs up to continue that support. So folks, it is a hot one here today for April, close to 80 degrees, blue skies and sunny, absolutely gorgeous. And we have a great video for you in store. But first, before we get into today's topic, I always like to run down what is going on here at the farm. And this week, our flower sales, our retail sales, just below average, but a decent week. We've made some money here on the farm, and that is great. We also got a suggestion to open up a donation. We have a donation thing through PayPal. That is in the description below. I call it a tip jar. We don't make a lot of money on the YouTube videos, and our sales have been kind of low. So if you guys can, if you want, donate. No pressure though, please, no pressure. So that's what's been going on here at the farm as far as the hemp business goes. When it comes to cloning or doing anything out in the grow area, I didn't have time this week. It's been really hot, but I plan on cloning this weekend when I have some time, and I should be tilling and rototilling the grow area within the coming days and getting the mats down. That's going to take some time, but I just didn't get to it this week. But let's dive into today's topic, folks. Today's topic is raised beds, something everybody can do at home. Our friends at Smart Pots make an easy 1, 2, 3 setup raised bed. Our friends at Coast of Maine have some great soil, and that's what we're using today. So first and foremost, let's thank those two guys. I do appreciate just being able to work with all their products. And on top of that, guys, if you guys are interested in Coast of Maine, I just found out recently they are on True Value's website, free shipping. Certain products are anyways, not their whole lineup, but free shipping, guys. And I will leave that link in the description below. Go ahead and check them out. A lot of the products we use today, you can find on that website. So folks, let's dive into today's topic. Let's head over to our new raised bed. It is a beautiful day here in Virginia, so let's jump right into it. So folks, let's talk about some of the mistakes I see people make all the time when it comes to raised beds. One of the first things I always see people do when it comes to raised beds, whether you're doing the fabric pot here, we have the nice Smart Pot raised bed, or you're building one from scratch, is that they don't consider the weeds. They find a patch of soil, they take up the surface weeds that you see around me, and then they start filling it with soil after they build their box. And although that is a great way to get started really quick, it's not a very thorough way. A lot of times these roots will still maintain here, and a lot of times when you're digging these up, seeds will drop. And 5 months later, all of a sudden, you'll see weeds coming up through your garden bed, and you'll wonder, how in the world did that happen? Well, that's because you didn't cover the bottom of your raised bed. One of the things I will recommend, even for this Smart Pot raised bed, is the Do It woven weed cover, or weed mat, whatever you want to call it. It's readily available, it's reusable, and I have yet to have weeds penetrate through it. It's great, and I highly recommend it. That is the way to keep weeds from being in your garden. Now, of course, you will have some weeds in your garden, but not like if you take the precautions necessary in getting rid of all the bottom weeds, especially if you're building one. But even for the Smart Pots, you'll forget that wherever you put it, the weeds will grow right on the edge of that Smart Pot, and it'll just cause for a pain in the butt all summer long. One of the other things that people don't recognize when building their raised bed is the direction it's facing. Now, everybody has a smartphone today, and the iPhone in particular has a compass. You can use that compass, and in the northern hemisphere here in Virginia especially, but in the United States, you want to be facing south, southeast, or southwest. In this case, we're facing southwest. And that's something you really want for a maximum amount of sunlight. You also want to consider trees and blocking, because typically when you build your raised bed, it's the springtime. And in the springtime, there's not a lot of leaves on the trees. The trees aren't in full foliage yet, and that can cause a little confusion on what your actual sunlight will be. Another thing that's not necessarily a mistake, but isn't really taken into consideration when building your raised bed, whether it's a Smart Pot raised bed or you built it from lumber, is layering your raised bed. Now, by all means, if you want to fill everything with just good old potting soil, you will get results, no question about it. But really, you can actually save yourself some money, and you can layer your raised bed so that the nutrients to that plant, as it goes down with its root system, will have more and more nutrients available as the plant gets bigger. One of the things I recommend a lot of people is that they put clean wood mulch at the bottom of your raised bed. One, it's fairly inexpensive, and two, it will decompose, and that is a really good way to add that nutrients that those plants will need later on in their life when they reach the bottom of that raised bed. And believe it or not, by June, July, and August, when those plants really start growing rapidly, it'll be a really good thing to have, and it will already start breaking down. But you want to make sure it's clean mulch. I know our friends at Coast of Maine, I don't have a bag here as I already used it on my blueberries. Shh. But they make a great kelp mulch that breaks down. That's an easy way, and a lot of times mulch is less expensive, and it's so much room that you have to fill in these raised beds. This particular one from Smart Pots is 15 cubic feet of soil. That's a lot of soil, and as you can see, I have a lot of bags behind me. One of the other ways you can actually fill it up for fairly less expensive than just buying pure potting soil is manure. So here's a bag of manure compost from our friends at Coast of Maine. Now, manure typically goes for like half the cost of what a bag of potting soil is, because it's readily available for most soil providers, and it's really inexpensive to make. The cows, obviously. And I have some mushroom compost here, and that's what I'm going to get into next. So after you've put your wood chips and your manure, that also will help break down the wood chips, you're going to want to add compost. That's nutrient-rich soil that has a lot of stuff that those plants will need when they get bigger. And next to me you see mushroom compost, and I'm going to grab this bag because it's my favorite from our friends at Coast of Maine. It is by far my favorite compost on the market today, and that is lobster compost. Now, when you layer your raised bed, you're going to want compost in that bottom third to middle of your raised bed, because once those roots get down there, they're going to be hungry, and this is going to provide a lot of nutrients for them. So then after you've added your compost, then you're going to add your regular potting soil, or in this case, what we're going to do a lot of is raised bed mix. The Coast of Maine makes a particular raised bed mix that we are going to fill our Smart Pots. Oh, hey, Hoppers. You want to be in the video too? Hoppers wants to join in on our raised bed video. But folks, back to what I was talking about, the raised bed mix is going to be the majority, that top half really, of our raised bed, in particular the Smart Pots raised bed. But what you can do is, if you're going to be putting seeds directly into the ground, I got another tip for you. Hang here, Hops. And that is adding seed starter mix to the very top layer of your raised bed. And this will help germinate those seeds. In particular, a lot of times squash seeds you'll end up putting directly into the ground, amongst other seeds. This will help with the germination. It will also give less compacted soil for those roots to start forming. And that way they get down into the soil. And when they get there, you've got your raised bed mix, your compost, your manure as they go down, and they're just going to have great results from that. So I really think that adding the seed starter just adds another very thin layer to the top. And when I think about the raised bed, you got to think of it in layers. But if you've already bought your potting soil, or you say, Jeff, I don't feel like doing all this layering stuff, cut it to me straight, what if I just get potting soil? So if you just buy potting soil, we're going to bring that back up to the front here. If you just buy bags of potting soil, 15 cubic feet of potting soil will fill this up just like anything else. But there's a problem with potting soil. A lot of times it does not pack the nutrients you need for it to feed your plants all summer long. So I'm going to give you some tips on, if you've already done this, how to get big, beautiful plants when you've already purchased all your potting soil. And I'm going to give you the first thing from our friends at Coast of Maine. Now, this is just an all-purpose plant food. The Stonington plant food in particular is their all-purpose one. Works well with their Stonington blend, obviously, but it's an all-purpose. It's a 524 generic NPK numbers, and this is something you would add to the potting soil, and you would kind of mix it in there. If you can, if you haven't tilled yet, definitely something you want to mix in. Now, if you're growing tomatoes specifically, now in the United States, I think tomatoes is the #1 garden plant. I got a secret for you. This is my favorite amendment from Coast of Maine. Right there with lobster compost, bud and blooms. Buds and blooms, I can't tell you the results I got last year. My tomato plants were probably close to 11 feet tall, and they had the biggest, tastiest fruits on them. And I really contribute a lot of that to this. Not only is its NPK value perfect for tomatoes, the amount of calcium that is in this just makes it pretty much carefree tomatoes. A lot of people deal with blossom rot, and you know why? This stuff right here does not have enough calcium to carry a tomato plant. So you're gonna wanna add this. So folks, I hope these tips really help you. Now, we're gonna go ahead and start building our raised bed, so hang around for that. But I wanna give a big shout out to our friends at Coast of Maine. And one of the recent things I did learn is that you can get Coast of Maine, in particular, the Stonington plant food, the potting soil, and the compost at true value for free shipping, which is crazy. So our friends at Coast of Maine, you can get them pretty much anywhere now, which is awesome. And now, if you can't get the raised bed mix, the potting soil and the lobster compost 50-50, and some of the manure is all you need too. Now we're going to be doing the raised bed mix because we're building the raised bed, but there's so many different ways you can combine soils. In particular, what we're doing today doesn't necessarily have to be what you do for your raised bed, but layering it is important. And today we're going to be doing a light layer of compost and manure at the bottom, followed by a lot of raised bed mix. But raised bed mix is built for the raised bed, unlike potting soil, so we don't need as much layering. Now, of course, I would have loved to have that mulch, but you know, we use it on our blueberries. But I am ready to get this project started, so come on over with me. We're going to start filling up the raised bed, but before we do that, I really do want to thank Coast of Maine and our friends at Smart Pots. This is awesome that we're able to do this and show you guys how you can build a raised bed for yourself that's going to make vegetables and food for your family for years to come. So let's jump right into it. All right, folks. Now, if you're starting and you took my advice with the mulch, this is when you would be adding your mulch. Now, again, you know, we used ours on our blueberries, but they were hungry too. So we're going to start off with manure, and then we're going to move up to the compost, and then the raised bed mix, and then the potting soil and the seed starter mix for the surface layer. So I only have one bag of manure because, and this is the reason why, guys, I'm not doing as much layering as I told you during the video, is because if you buy Coast of Maine's raised bed mix, for instance, I have a bag right here, and I'll tell you what's in it. It's already got a lot of the compost. It's got biochar. It has lobster and kelp meal in it. It also has poultry manure and worm castings. This thing is packed full of everything that goes into a raised bed, which is why they call it a raised bed mix. So you don't have to do as much layering. I still highly recommend doing the compost stage. The plants will get to a point where their roots are down there and they're gonna be hungry. So definitely don't forget the compost stage, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing the compost at the bottom layer with no mulch, and then we're gonna do the raised bed mix, and then so on. So the reason why you're not seeing me layer as much is because we have the raised bed mix. And if it's available in your area, go ahead and use it. It's great stuff. I grew in it last year. I believe that was their first year of having it. And you can find it on their website. I don't believe True Value carries this one yet, but go ahead. I will leave their link in the description below for Find Your Nursery, and you should be able to find raised bed mix in your area. So let's get started and start filling this. We're going to do a fast forward, so I'm not going to really be talking during the video. So yeah, let's get right into it, folks. Okay, so I wanted to take a break real quick and walk you through what I just did. Now, I just added 4 bags of compost manure, 2 bags of lobster compost, 1 bag of mushroom compost, and a bag of cow manure compost. Now, I evenly spread them out throughout. Now, they're not exact, but that's okay. And so that makes up about 1/5 of the raised bed that we have here. As you can see, It's absolutely beautiful stuff. The last one I put on was lobster compost. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the raised bed mix, and that's gonna make up pretty much 70% to 80% of our raised bed here. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna add that, and then I'll see you after that. Well, folks, I apologize. As soon as I started the time-lapse video of me adding the raised bed mix, the camera overheated, which is nothing to complain about in April, I guess. It's 80 degrees and beautiful and sunny, and the camera's in direct sunlight out here. So it did overheat and it shut down. So unfortunately, you didn't get to see me add all this beautiful soil. But here is the raised bed mix. It's absolutely beautiful. And so now our raised bed is pretty much 80% complete. We only have 2 things to add. And I'm gonna grab those. We're gonna do the potting soil, and then we're gonna add the seed starter. That way it's nice and loose, and everything is gonna be nice and layered. And we'll be able to plant some seeds in the coming weeks and have a beautiful raised bed mix. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna add these 2 bags, and then I'll see you at the end of that. So that is it. Now, what you could do, now if this was all potting soil, you go ahead and you would have been layering this in while you were emptying out the bags. At some point in the summer, it's not a bad idea to recharge some of that topsoil with an all-purpose plant food or specific plant food geared towards certain plants like this right here for the tomatoes. That would be great. It's only going to be beneficial to you to give these plants everything they can absorb. Most organic stuff will never burn a plant, unlike Miracle-Gro. So you can be pretty liberal with your application when adding any of these soil nutrients. Well, folks, as you can see, I have a mess to clean up around me as we are done with our raised bed here today. I want to thank our friends at Coast of Maine for just being great and allowing us to use their soil in this video. It is just awesome. They're a great company, and please check them out if they're in your area. And don't forget, they are a true value now, or at least certain products are. I want to thank Smart Pots. They were here for Soil Wars. They're still here today. I do appreciate their support also. And guys, you saw me build my raised bed from scratch, but if you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. If you guys want to support our farm, we do have a tip jar now down in the description below. If you guys are interested in hemp flower to make your own CBD, all that information is in the description below as well. But that's all I have for you today, folks. I hope you take care, stay safe, stay healthy, don't get bored, stay active, and I will see you in another video.